Hey YouTube, Mark here. Today I am doing again something different, something I've never done before. I usually take my bike Angel to the shop to get this done, and that is putting on new tires. The system that I've had it for a couple of years now, and it's wearing out. The treads are getting thin, and I didn't get the mileage off of them that I was hoping. So I'm going to go with different brands, something that I'm hoping will give me better mileage. I mean, the system I have here, both front and back, only got me, gosh, I think it was less than, or right around 18,000 miles. Which actually isn't bad, because I've been seeing videos online where people are talking that they're only getting maybe like 6,000 to 8,000 miles. It's like, holy crap, really? You guys, I don't know their riding style, but man, they must be tearing it up. So yeah, this is going to be my first attempt. I've found a few tricks and techniques to hopefully make it a little easier. We will also balance the tires. We're going to do static balancing, and no, I did not go out and buy a balancing system. It's something that I've got ready-made here, and we should be able to do the balancing. And see, there was something else. Oh, and I got a few other a few special tools. Truthfully, what you need is actually located in your toolbox, but I don't know if I'm going to use that. I was looking at the wrench. The wrench that they give you to pull out your oh, sorry for that wind noise. I have actually got the garage door shut, but you're still going to hear it blowing around the garage. The tool that they give you in your tool set, it's for pulling out your spark plug and taking out your front axle. My problem is that it looks so flimsy that if I use it, I'm afraid I'm going to break it. So I went out and I got something different. And then when it comes to mounting, I found this really weird technique where you use zip ties. So alright, I'll give it a shot and see what happens. So let's get into it. We're going to do the front wheel first just because it's the easiest. I don't have to remove that much stuff. So let's get into that front wheel. Alright, first thing we need to do, drink a little coffee. Alright. Now, seriously, the first thing we need to do, there's two little Allen screw bolts right here. They're 6mm, I think. And hopefully these won't be too hard. No, these aren't hard at all. A little tight. I think they're supposed to be like torqued to like, gosh, what was it, like 15 foot-pounds or something like that. Check the spec book just to make sure, but I think that's all it was. Okay, so what those two little Allen bolts do is, you see this split right here. It actually compresses that and puts friction on the axle. That way it doesn't rotate and spin. But we gotta loosen these up before we even loosen that up. And speaking of loosening up the axle, that's what we gotta do next. And you notice I haven't jacked the bike up yet. I wanted to get all this loosened up before I get it on the jack. That way all the torquing on the wheel doesn't all of a sudden send it off the jack. So this is the reason I'm doing it now. But this is the special little tool that I got. And it's meant to take out axles, but different sizes. So you got a 17mm axle, you got a 19mm, you have a 22mm and a 24mm. So the Kawasaki 1600 Vulcan, it's a 22mm, so I need to use this. And I know with most Allen screws, you know, with this on the top, you wouldn't be able to put it in far enough. But your axle is actually hollow, so it'll slide all the way in. Just like that. Alright, might have to stand up and get a little leverage on this one. There we go. Alright, so now that I have all that all busted loose, I'm going to now put the jack on, lift the bike up, and get it standing to where the wheel is barely on the ground. Okay, now that the bike is up on the stand, my wheel is pretty much free floating here. Now is a chance that I can take to see if there's anything wrong with the bearings. You can take your tire, just kind of try to wobble it. And I'm not really feeling anything. If you're feeling anything or hearing a clunking noise, your bearings are probably bad. Now I will double check them as I get the tire out. I'll just run my finger around the bearings and see if there's any stiffness, kind of like almost a sandy feel to it. When you do this, you'll understand what I'm talking about. You'll actually feel like there's little grits of sand in there. But for now, everything looks good. So let's finish taking out the axle. Okay, the axle broke free from the other side. So I should be able to just slide this out and the tire will fall down. There's the axle. Now in here, let me get you a little closer. Okay, now inside of here, this right here, don't know if you can see that or not, I hope so. But this right here is a spacer. I think in the manual they call them a collar. But those will come out as you slide the wheel out. And this is the spacer on the left side of the bike. And the spacers on the 1600 Vulcan are the same for both sides. So if you get them mixed up, it's no big thing. Okay, so the axle's out, my spacers are out, tire's nice and free. I'm going to take off these calipers now. I'm just going to let that dangle. But with that one break off, I should be able to get the wheel off now, but I've got to elevate it a little higher on my jack in order to get clearance from the front fender here. All right. Yeah, we'll just let that fall off to the side a little bit. There we go. Front wheel off. Okay, so I got the tire off. I just got it sitting on this old blanket. That wind is amazing today. Okay, so this is my right side. It was up like this. My rotation arrow is this way, so that means the circle would be going like this. So this is my right side, and I don't really have much to indicate what's right and what's left, other than my valve stem in here is actually pointing to the left side. So I'll have to remember that as I'm putting it all back together. But now that I'm in here, I want to play with the bearings just a little bit. Just stick your finger in there and just move it. Okay, that one actually feels pretty good. Do it to the other side. A little bit of clicking in there, but I don't think it's anything major. So I'm just going to leave that alone. Okay. But now that I've got, now this is my left side, because here's my valve stem right here. Alright, so here's my valve stem. I'm going to take the cover off. Just the standard valve cover. Now this little tool here is actually a valve core remover tool, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to stick it down in there, and it'll kind of fall in and kind of lock into place, and then you just start unscrewing it just like any standard screw. You can hear the air coming out. Now you gotta be careful because there's a lot of pressure in here. If I take it out and I'm not really paying attention, it could just actually shoot out of there. So this is the core that we just took out of the valve stem. All right, now with the valve stem out, we need to now break the bead. Now what the bead is there's basically, on both sides, it's basically like the very edge of the tire, and then it kind of loops around. Those are actually called the bead. And it will sit right down here in this little track, and it creates an airtight seal. We need to get that out of there. It's not the easiest thing to do. A lot of people have special tools that they use and whatnot, but yeah, I'm just going to try to use brute force and some soapy water. Okay, so my method on breaking the bead is actually going to involve giant C-clamps. You can get these for maybe $10, $15, maybe even $20 depending on where you go. But what we're going to do is we're just going to put it on, and then we're just going to start cranking it down, and we're going to break that bead. The thing to remember about breaking the bead with a C-clamp is that you do not want the clamp to be on your rim. You want it to be pushing the tire. Same as the bottom edge down here, you want it to be on the tire, not on the rim. Check underneath. All right, still looking good on the underside. All right, let's get this lubed up. Bead's about ready to break, so I want to get some soapy water on here. You know what? I think I'm going to need a second clamp. Alright, of course, as soon as I turned off the camera, my bead broke. But you can see now, down here is where the bead sits. And yeah, it is now completely off. Alright, now I've got that first bead on the one side broken. I've got to flip the tire over and work on the other side. Now the issue is that if I put those C-clamps on and just start cranking down on that second side, it's not really going to do anything because that first side's already broke. So I've got to put down like a piece of 2x4, have that kind of going across the rim, maybe even on a little bit of the tire and stuff like that, just to kind of give it a secure base. So as I'm cranking down, the second side will start being pushed down and not the bottom side, the first side being pushed up. You know what I mean? All right, let's get into it. Okay, so this is the 2x4 that I have under here. Like I said, that's going to kind of give me a nice secure solid base and which to start clamping down on. Okay, so I just wanted to give you a close-up view of what I mean by the bead. On my white wall tire here, you can really see how the tire kind of starts curving up right here. This is what they call the bead, is this little part right in here. And like I said, that's what's really stuck on that tire, creating that airtight seal. Alright, I'm going to get my soapy water here. Oh, you know what? That actually broke off. But I'm going to take my soapy water now anyway. And just go around the entire tire. And just push. There, see? Now the tire's off. Alright, now all we should have to do, yep, see, You just go around and you push it down off that bead. When you have it lubed up, it makes it a lot easier. If you don't put that soapy water on there, you'll be pushing and you'll be huffing and puffing before you know it. Mine came off real easy. Now it's time to break out tire irons. And most people are worried about scuffing their rims and stuff like that. I am a little bit, but not that much. So I just want to get the tire off. So you put it down in there, you grab one edge, and I just hook it underneath my my rotor there. Just like that. Now, the hardest part is to get the other side off. Yay! Well, that gave me a little bit of a fight, but not bad. Yeah, a little marring on my rims, but I'm not that big into my rims. I mean, I like my bike to look good, but I don't have to worry. I don't worry about my rims too much. Okay, time to get the new wheel ready to go on the rim. Don't really care that much about my rims, but after seeing all the damage that these things caused, I'm a little more concerned about that now. But I think I found a way to where I can put a tire on a rim without using tire irons. How do you do it? Zip ties. Now these zip ties are fairly long. I think these are 24-inch zip ties. But what you do is you go around the tire like this. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to squish the tire down to where the two beads go together. Okay, that's the main objective of what you're trying to do here. So let me bring you in closer and show you. Okay, so the edge of the tire right here, got one here, you got one here. This is the bead, this whole little recessed area right here. Okay, that's the bead, that's what sits, give you the wheel here. That's what sits on this edge right here. And so when you seat the bead, you sit it into this area. And each one of these also has a slightly raised edge right here. So it sits down in there nice and firm and snug and airtight. So what we're trying to do with this zip tie method is we're trying to get these beads all the way together. Now you can use as many zip ties as you want, and it doesn't matter which way around the tire you go. The main thing is that you're trying to get the bead as close together as possible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around, put all these straps on, and then go through and just re-snug them all up. So right now it's just kind of getting them close. Okay, so it didn't take me long to go around and zip tie everything together. As you might be able to tell on this side, bead is just really close together. Now if it doesn't go completely together, it shouldn't make that big of a deal if you have little gaps all over the place. And I use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 zip ties. I'll put it in thunder and lightning and stuff. You know, the count, Sesame Street. Come on, people, get with it. All right, so now what we gotta do is we gotta lube this up and basically just put it on the rim. But we need direction. Does that make sense to you? Okay, so every tire, well, I actually can't say that. Not every tire has a direction of rotation. Most tires do. And in fact, the rear tire that I bought, I've gone over the whole thing and I cannot find... I'm sorry about that wind, that's just weird. I cannot find a direction of rotation on that back tire. I've looked it all over, I've looked at every square inch of it, and I cannot find a rotational direction on that tire. But my front tire does. So what you need to find, right here it says front, which means that it's a front wheel. Oh, sorry, there it is right there. It's a front wheel and the arrow is pointing that direction, which means that the wheel has to rotate like this. So I have this orientated to my bike to be the right side is here, left side is over here. Okay, now if you remember from the beginning of the video when I was orientating the rim, I said that the valve stem was pointing to the left. Well, here's my valve stem and it's pointing to the left. That means my tire is going to go on like this because it's orientating this way. That's the way the wheel's going to spin. Alright, but in order to get this on, we're going to lube up the tire and it should, I hope, just slide right on. Alright, so just go around. A little lube. Oh, that doesn't work. Darn, it's not going to work for me. Alright, unfortunately for me, that zip tie method just isn't going to work. So I'm going to go get something to protect my rims from those tire irons, and I'll have to do it the old-fashioned way. Alright, so let's re-wet the tire and see if we can get the one side in. There we go. Alright, got the bottom bead in. Alright, hopefully these will work. These are just little inserts I made. I made them out of the ice cream container. But hopefully these will work. Okay, well, I think part of my problem is that I'm having problems getting the irons into position because I've still got the brake disc on. I think I'm going to have to take at least this one off. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do that. They are a 6mm hex. Whew. That'd be why. They put red Loctite in here. Alright. Now that I've got the brake disc off, hopefully now I can start getting the bars into place better without having that disc in the way. You gotta keep remembering, as you're working, you gotta move your knees up too to help keep the tire down. There you go. All right, got to use a second one now. Yay! Oh. Well, I have to admit, that was a pain in the ass. These definitely did help, but they're still kind of flimsy. So I don't think I did any serious damage to my rim. I mean, I do have scuff marks on there, but you know, it is what it is. But now, gotta get that put back on. I'm not putting any more Loctite on here because these are actually going in pretty difficult. You know, it's pretty hard to get them in. I can't just screw them in by hand, so I think the residue that's in there will be enough to hold this in place. Okay, same thing with doing a car tire. You rotate in a star pattern. So you do one, you skip one, you do one, you skip one. And you don't do it all the way, you just go until it's snug, and then you stop, go to the next one, go until it's snug, and then stop. And then you go around the whole star again, and you tighten them down. It could actually take you 2 or 3, maybe even 4 times before it actually gets completely tight. Whoa! That's what I was waiting for. There should be 2 of them though. I need to wait for the other one. There it goes. I tell you, that scares the shit out of you. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to deflate my tire. I'm going to actually take the core out again, and then I'm going to reflate it. That's cold on the fingers. I got a nice good bead going all the way around, and now I'll re-inflate it. Alright, it's all full. Now it's time to balance. And we're going to do a static balance, which means that we're going to just let it kind of free roll on a stand. I'll show you how we're going to do that. Alright, so this is how I'm going to balance my tire. I've actually got this. These are old jack stands that my grandfather had given me, gosh, probably about 15 years ago or more. I shouldn't say he gave them to me. I actually got them when he passed away. But I had put a little cardboard on the floor just to raise up this side because you want it nice and level. And according to this right here, that is level. So I'm going to put this is just the axle from the wheel. I'm going to slide it in there and begin the balancing process. Now this is called static balancing. That's actually tornado sirens. Just give it a little push like that just to get it going, and it should center out and the heavy spot should fall down. I'm going to do it again, see if the same spot See if it stops in the same spot or not. Wow, that's actually pretty close. Try it the other way. Give it more of a rip again. Again, I'm going to see if it's in the same spot or not. I don't know what to say. I've spun it 5-6 times now, and it's in a different spot each and every time. So I'm thinking that the wheel is pretty well balanced. The reason I know it's in a different spot is I'm just looking to see where the valve stem ends up. Sometimes it's almost straight down, sometimes it's at like around 2 o'clock, another time it's at 5 o'clock, another time it's at 8 o'clock. I'm saying the wheel's balanced. Cool. Okay. One more thing we need to do is going to take the axle and the spacers and even in the lip around here where the axle goes in, I'm just going to smear a little bit of grease. Okay, so I smeared a little bit of grease right in here, and I did the same thing on the other side. Now I'm going to try to get the tire kind of into place. I'm trying to get the brake disc into the pads right there. Oh, the farther it's going to go like this. Yeah. So now I need to lower the bike down and get it into position. Alright, so I'm just going to lower the bike slowly down and get it close to the mounting areas. Okay, so now I've got the discs going into the brake calipers a little bit. I mean, they're not all the way on yet, of course, but it's getting close. But what I need to do now is I need to lower the bike so I can get the start getting the holes lined up and get the spacers put in, get the axle put through, and we'll be good to go. All right, as far as my tire just came out of the brakes. I'm gonna put just a little lube just on the very front edge of this, because this is what kind of gets recessed into the wheel, like that. Now I need to do the other side. See if we can get this one back on. That. Now we need to grease the actual axle itself, making sure I get the threads really well. I don't want those getting bound up too much to where I can't get the axle out next time. Now we do the whole shaft, the whole axle. Like I said, I want a nice good even coating all the way across. Looks like strawberry jam. Alright, that should be good enough for now. Oh, and by the way, I did clean the axle and everything before doing all the balancing and whatnot. Alright, so I'll do this. Just slide it all the way through. Alright. Now it should be starting to come out the other side. And I can tell just in there I can see the axle. Just in that little space. But now I want to grease up this a little bit. Again, not much. And now we'll start screwing it in. Alright, now we got to torque this down. Actually, I don't want to torque it just down just yet. There's a little maneuver we got to do. Now what we need to do is we need to center the axle. And you got to bounce the front end. That's the brakes you're hearing clunking around. Okay, just do that a few times. and that kind of makes the axle find its sweet spot. But now I can finish up everything. I'll put my tool in here. Time to really snug it down. There. That ain't going nowhere. Tighten up. I think they're called the fork clip bolts, because I think they refer to this as a clip. Ooh, dinner's ready. Just a really nice snug fit, not overly tight. All right, let's get these brakes back on. All right, just kind of like doing a brake change. You just fiddle-faddle with it enough. Separate the pads with your fingers and just slide it over the disc. Look at that. So look at that, a new front tire. Huh. I did it. I actually did it. Okay, now time for the back tire. That's a little more involved, but there's still a lot of daylight left. Let's keep working. Okay, so it's time to start taking off this rear wheel. I'm not sure how this is going to go. I'm actually quite nervous about it. But I know the first thing we have to do is we got to take the caliper off. All right. Caliper is off. Okay, this right here, it's called a castle nut. And we need to take out this little pin right down here. So I'm going to get some needle nose pliers, straighten it out, and hopefully it'll come out fairly easily. All right. Well, the good thing is I got the pin out. The bad thing is it broke, so I'm going to have to replace this. Yeah, so I was kind of looking around, trying to figure things out. I am going to have to take off that exhaust. There's just no way around it. Okay, so I've been fighting with the getting this exhaust off for quite a while, and I realized the exhaust is in multiple parts. Let me show you. Okay, from the rear cylinder down to about here, that's one pipe. From here up to the front, that's another pipe. There are seams here, which means I just need to take off the actual muffler itself, not the front pipes. Okay, so orientation. So I need to undo this bolt. I need to undo this bolt. And there is a nut on the underside, so you might need to get a wrench and actually put on there as you socket that off. And then we this is basically a tension bolt that will pinch the pipe closed, and then they got another one up here as well. So yeah, I only need to do 4 things. I should be able to get this entire muffler off. I like that. So I'm doing the compression fittings first. It's I think all these nuts and bolts that hold on the muffler are all 12 millimeter. Another bolt looks like the same size, so it doesn't matter which one goes where. Okay, so I misspoke. The nut here, and that's just a nut, all you're taking off. And then the screw down here, those are 14 millimeter. And there is a washer underneath that acorn nut, okay? Okay, now the one that's kind of in between, this is the muffler here. This is also part of the muffler here. So we need to take out this bolt right here. Get a nice little extension. All right. Okay, so that's the bolt, and there's the nut. All right, so if I've done this right, and if I've thought it through, I should be able to just pull this back section off. Yeah, there it goes. Look at that. Awesome. So you don't even have to take off the front parts of the muffler pipes. Just take off the actual muffler itself. Excellent. All right, now we can start working on that. Okay, so the next thing we got to take off is the bracket that holds on the caliper. So there's one little bolt. Actually, it's not very little. It's a 17 millimeter. Tight, but not too bad. Now we got to do this, and I'll tell you right now, I've cheated and I've already loosened it up a little bit. Oh, by the way, this is a big nut. It's a 27 millimeter. So yes, I had to go to the store and buy one. No shit, look at that, 27 millimeter. Okay, so next step is we need to start jacking up the bike and getting it off the wheel so we can take the axle out. Okay. That's my little spacer, our little washer that was there. Fuck. Okay, so I got the bike up on the jack now. However, I don't have the weight going forward. It's still sitting back on the back wheel. So I know it's going to kind of lunge forward as soon as that wheel comes off. Alright, so now all I got to do is just pull out the axle. However, on the other side, okay, right down in here, there is a small spacer. There's the bracket for the brakes and the spacer. So the larger outer ring here was on the outside. All right, now I'm going to just keep pulling the axle through. Now what I'm doing is I'm just hitting the bottom. I can't pull this out any farther, not without issues anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just keep on hitting the tire until it comes off the drive splines in the final drive here. There we go. All right. Whew, that took a little persuasion, didn't it? All right, whoa. I hate these fucking jacks. All right, so now we need to jack the bike up as high as it will go so we can get the tire out of here. Like I said, I hate doing this. I hate these type of jacks. Okay, as you can see, I got it out. Sorry I did not record that, but it was just, like I said, it's just a little hairy. I don't like the bike being up on these jacks. You know, the way it sits on there is not right. It's basically sitting on the oil pan right now. And it seems wobbly, the jack seems wobbly, and now all of a sudden there's a big weight transfer because I took the tire off and all the weight transferred to the front, so it was rocking all over the place. So apologies for not recording it. It was a little more difficult for me because I use a car tire. It's a bit wider, so I had to struggle a little bit more to get the tire free. I actually had to already pull the little valve stem core. I had to pull that out to deflate the tire before I could actually even get it out of there. So when I go to put it back, after I set the bead and everything like that, I can't leave the tire inflated. I'm going to have to deflate it to put it on and then reinflate it once it's on the bike. Okay, the bike is actually seeming pretty steady right here right now. So I'm going to start working on getting this tire off the rim. I'm hoping that my C-clamps will still work. I kind of found out that having a piece of wood under there really does help. Alright, hopefully I can get this bead off now. Okay, got the bead broke on this side. All the way around. Now I gotta do the other side. For crap's sakes. I've been working and working on getting this tire off. Didn't even have the damn thing recording. It was hard. It was very hard. Was using my little makeshift protectors here, and actually they did pretty well. I mean, got a couple of marks, but not bad. Okay, now the other fun of trying to put the new one on. For putting on my new car tire on the rear. By the way, if you're curious, this is a Bridgestone Taranza EL400. So in case you're wondering and want to put it on your bike, that's what it is. Alright, now, I didn't have this issue with the front tire, and that is I got colored dots. I got a yellow one here and I got a red one here. Basically what it means, it tells you where to put your valve stem. And if you have the two different colors, which I don't understand this. If you have a yellow dot, put the valve stem at the yellow dot. However, if you have a red dot and a yellow dot, you ignore the yellow dot and put the valve stem at the red dot. I don't know. So anyway, now I got to put this tire on, and I have a feeling it's going to be just about as difficult as taking off that one. All right, here we go. Alright. Alright. That was the easy side. I already got the tire started on this side here. Now it's time to start levering in. First few are usually pretty easy. Oh, shit. Oh. Oh, shit. That was a major pain in the ass. Oh. Why did I have to go with car tires? Oh, man. Alright, well, we can start filling this up with air. Make sure the bead sets. And then we can continue. Remember, I just gotta set the bead on both sides, so of course you hear the two booms. And then I'm going to deflate it so I can get it on the bike. Alright, gotta plug my compressor in. It's getting late in the day. I'm not thinking anymore. Getting the tire inflated. I wanted you guys to hear the pings of the bead setting. I look over to the camera, it's not even on. I mean, it was actually completely shut off. Like, son of a bitch. But anyway, the tire is now inflated. Sorry about the hissing noise. I got my compressor hose right below the camera. So yeah, I got my tire inflated. I'm going to pull the valve stem off it again and deflate it and get it ready for mounting on the bike. I'm getting tired. I've been sitting here talking to you guys for like 10 minutes and I didn't hit the record button again. So I'm balancing my wheel now. Same way that we did the front wheel. Just give it a little spin, but just a nice little gentle push, that's all you need. My valve stem is down here on the bottom. Alright, so that means that's my heavy point down at the bottom. So I have to put weights on this one. I didn't put them on the front wheel, but I gotta put them on this one. So I gotta put them up here. From what I understand, most people sit there and they take some tape and actually tape these up there, just, you know, some masking tape or something like that. I don't have any out here. I don't feel like running inside, so I'm just going to do 1/4 ounce at a time. Give it another, just put it there. More than likely it'll come back up. Now when I go put on another weight, I'll actually put another weight on the opposite side. So I put one here, and then I put one over here, then I'll put one here, and then I'll put another one over here. Now these are 1/4 ounce weights. See how slow it's going now? Just give it one more shot and see what happens. I think I'm going to put in one more, and if I don't like the way it's moving, I'll just remove the weight. They always say that you're supposed to caution on the air of having too little weight. They usually say you don't want the weight to be, you know, you don't want this to be your heavy spot. Nope, I think I'm still going to do one more. So right now I'm at 3/4 of an ounce on both sides. So 1.5 ounces. I like that. It's basically not even moving. I like it. All right, time to put it on the bike. Okay, the owner manual also says that since I got the wheel off, go ahead and grease up these splines for the final drive. I am also going to grease up the axle. I don't know if I actually showed you this spacer or not, because it was actually attached to the axle, but it was inside that spline area. So just put it right back on top of the axle, push it in. I need to put this back on the axle. I forgot about it. On. Alright. I'm hoping you can see this. It's kind of dark in there, but you can see the axle coming through with that spacer on it inside the spline there. I didn't forget, I need to take out the cord to the tire valve. You missed me taking out the old tire, so I'm going to try to get you to see what I'm doing here and get in the new one. Okay, I got the wheel primarily in place. Alright, now hopefully when I go to lower the bike, it'll just force its way down through. Oh. I'm getting there. I'm only that far away. It's just so hair-raising to have the bike kind of maybe get bound up a little bit, and then all of a sudden it drops. Once everything gets connected, one thing I was always afraid of when I went to the car tire was clearance along the edges here. And the guy that I originally put on my first set of car tires was like, as long as you have a like a playing card thickness of room, you're fine. Oh, all right, I got to finish this up. I see that I'm running out of battery power, so I don't know how much more recording I'm going to do, but I'll try to record as much as possible. Okay, this is the hard part here. It's getting the splines with the tire and the final drive all put together. That's the hard part. Actually, I had to take a break from this last night. As you can tell, I got a new shirt on. So I had to take a break from it last night. I was getting so frustrated and I was tired and everything. I mean, I've been doing it for a long time. It took me all day to do everything up to this point, and with the wind and everything, tornado sirens are going off, so I kind of called it a day and said, you know what, I'm just gonna stop where I'm at and I'll pick it up you know, on another day. So here I am on another day trying to finish this up, but I was fighting with trying to get these splines lined up, and man, I just don't know what the secret is. I'm not trusting my jack stands to hold the weight of the bike. You know, it's just constantly moving. It's almost fallen off the stand like 3 times now. So right now I've got, as you can see, I got the jack stand on wood, and then I've lowered it down. The other side is actually on the jack on the other side. So the bike is pretty solid right now. But Oh, I just don't know. I'm gonna keep going, try to see if I can get this thing lined up, but I almost need another set of hands or something. I don't know. All right, keep going here. Okay, I finally got the splines lined up, so the tire is actually going on. All right, got my axle in a little bit. Put my spacer onto it. I gotta take my brake bracket. Oh, I need my mallet. Gonna drive the axle all the way through. There we go. Axle's all the way through. Put the washer on it. Put the castle nut back on. Okay, so the first thing I want to do, try to get that to stay up there. I want to put this screw here on the brake bracket, caliper bracket. I don't know what you want to call it. All right. Just as tight as I can get it. All right, so now that I have the caliper here and I'm getting tired of it always falling down, I am going to mount that next. Just spread the pads apart and it should just wiggle right on. Just like that. You don't need to pinch them back together. It might take a little persuasion, but you can get them. All right, I need my 6mm. Oh, sorry, my 8mm. And we'll screw it on. I'll just stop it now. All right. There we go. All right. So now that's on. I can now tighten down the castle nut and I'll be able to put the cotter pin in. All right, that's tight enough. All right, got my 1/8 inch cotter pin. Put that through. And I actually got the long one. I got like a 2-inch cotter pin. I really don't want this thing going anywhere. You can probably get away with 1.5 inches, maybe even 1 inch. When you start tightening the castle nut, you might need an 18mm wrench on the other side because the axle will just want to spin and spin and spin as you're trying to tighten it down. But once it starts getting tight, the axle will stop spinning and then you can just tighten up the nut itself. Caliper bracket is on, the caliper itself is on. Okay, let's just put on the muffler and the job is done. I like saying those words. Okay, as you can see, the jack is gone now. So now I can start getting this muffler back on. Oh, almost there. There we go. Okay, got the muffler in place. Washer there. Acorn nut. Now for this bracket down here, is this one. So, goes through. Nut goes on the other side. Okay, just nice and snug. All right, so now I got to do the bolt that goes in here and the other one that's down here. Get them sorted by hand. All right, there's that one. The other nut actually feeds in from the bottom. There, nice and snug. Okay, so I put in about 35 pounds of pressure. That's about where I like it, so. Okay, so I got my bike all done. Love to go take it out for a test ride right now, but it's spring in Wisconsin. Gotta love it. Alright, well, I hope you learned something watching this video. I know I learned a lot doing it. But this is Mark saying thanks again for watching, and I'll see you on the road.